खुशबू है दो आलम में तेरी गुले चीदा खुशबू है दो आलम में तेरी गुले चीदा किस्मों से बयां हो तेरे औसाफ पे हमीदा तुझे सा कोई आया ना आएगा जहाँ में तुझसा कोई आया है ना आएगा जहाँ में देता है सदा यही आलम का जरीदा देता है सदा यही आलम का जरीदा खुशबू है दो आलम में तेरी गुले चीदा.
So the research is underway, starting from PRC to ag universities to agriculture departments. There are good degree of research. Then we were able to create a climate change cell at University of Agriculture, Faisalabad. The students were trained and now they are in various universities. There are various research projects underway at various places. But we feel that, yes, we do need to do a lot of research to adapt this climate change. But there is a gap, a huge gap, that whatever we have done, it's not passing on to the farmers. It is not passing on to the communities. There is a need for a climate education, water education. So that would make a big difference. Then, if you look at the university, what we are doing as a part of outreach to address this gap, we are doing a collective action. In this university particularly, we try to develop it differently, that we work with all stakeholders together, be it farmers, be it communities, be it agro-industry, academia, researchers together. So collectively we are trying to address this climate. This is the approach we have followed. Then we are doing internships, and internally we are thankful to Government of Punjab. They have given a project to us on agriculture internship. We are training those graduates. They'll go to the different, particularly this is focusing on 10 low producing tehsils of the Punjab. And I believe that in addition to giving advisory to the farmers, they will add value in it through educating for climate change. Then media campaigns are frequent, but there is need to make it more important, I believe. Then engaging the youth. You will see tonight that the students, the activities they will be doing for your entertainment, they will have the element of climate change. That's then another way of teaching the youth. Then also we have kind of branded an event, Science for Farmers. So we are having this 2 days conference, whatever the conference we do. We speak in English, we deliberate, we have our farmers, we have delegations. But ultimately, the message should pass on to the farmers. So following this conference, we'll have Science for Farmers for 1 day, where the recommendations will be discussed with the farmers and we'll have their feedback also. Conferences and publications, we are very happy to announce that this year, yesterday in fact, we started a new research journals which is mainly will be focusing on crop production and orchard improvement in this scenario of climate change. So this is another initiative the university has taken. This is a wheat variety which has gone to the provincial uniform yield trial, Dr. Azim Saab. We focused on the phenology of the crop. I was discussing with David yesterday, and I believe we'll do something together, a very unique idea, that let's make a model. We know, what mechanisms are working in the plants, and based upon that mechanism, let's create a computer model of the plant, the phenology, focus on the phenology, and then try to integrate those states into our genotypes. So this is a water-saving kind of variety where we fixed on the twist of the leaf, the hairiness, the angle and grooves. And this is already in the provincial trials of wheat, where it passes on to the atmospheric water which is suspending in the air. That is kind of captured through these plants and it goes to the roots. And in the corner you could see the rice, the multi-floret rice, which again is kind of drought tolerant crop which we are doing. So we have demonstrated here that this self-irrigation wheat would save 13% moisture as compared to this is a comparison of the galaxy there. And it has 21% higher yield than the galaxy. This is another learning. Thank you, Australia. We have very strong collaboration with Australia, and from PBI, we are working with increasing the phenotypic plasticity of the plants. The temperatures are not consistent. There are high and lows in the same season. So that will absorb 5 degrees centigrade fluctuation and will sustain the yield and will have higher yield 10 to 30% for gains. Okay, this is another project on wheat, which is nutrient use efficiency program. So this is a little technical. You can see in the corner, there are slides which are normal, and then there, next to it is little light. So if you look at the lower side, they are using a kind of fungus to enhance nutrition use efficiency, and the mechanisms are shown here. And overall increasing the productivity, and trying to kind of converting the small farmers into some kind of cooperatives. Also, we started a climate change degree program at this university. The concept is that climate change affects everything. Social sciences also, plant pathology, entomology, horticulture, plant breeding and genetics, agronomy and everything. So we take in this degree the students from all these disciplines and top up those disciplines with climate change modeling, climate change adaptation strategies and other things. So we believe this is futuristic to address the climate change also. Tree plantation is our passion. Dr. Mukarrab is standing there. He is our champion of tree plantation. We kind of instituted a society, Plant for Life, in 2016, and Alhamdulillah, we have contributed good number of trees in the region. And with that, we took University of Agriculture Faisalabad is number 1 in Pakistan, and we are number 5 university in environmental sustainability for addressing various kind of interventions coming together to sustain the environment. So whatever the conference, we mainly branded for 5 conferences. 1, Sinopark Cotton Biotechnology Conference, annual event with collaboration with Chinese. We do 2 conferences here, 17, 18 and 2019 we did it in China. So there is other than Chinese, there are other scientists also come, but the focus is on producing the cotton productivity.
Open a little bit to give you the overview of the conference, to say that the partnership with this university, which is young in age but very dynamic, I have to say, is an important one. That we are pleased to see that there is a lot of also international partnerships and experts who have flew in, and therefore I'm also very happy to have been a supporter and partner of this second Climate Smart Agriculture Conference. Now, in Pakistan, climate adaptation should become really a center of all government development policies. And we are seeing, I've seen in the last 2 years, a big change in this. There has been a lot of work started and a lot of these consideration of the vulnerabilities brought by climate change incorporated in many of the programs of the government. Well, I want to remind here, you're all experts in the agricultural sector and water, and we've heard an overview of the research that has been undertaken in this university in partnership also with other universities and institutions. There's one thing we need to remember. Our agriculture needs to be looked at as a system. It's an agriculture and food system. It means you start from the natural resources, the endowment, and Pakistan is rich of it. But you go all the way and you look also at what it means for the people around it, and all the way through the value chain, all the way to the consumers, all the way to where the food and how it is, what and how it is consumed. This is a fundamental element that is still not totally understood, but we've seen through now also the chairmanship of PARC with Dr. Azim, and the new government is more and more going in this direction. This is important because only to have and address the impacts of climate change really requires cross-sectoral, multidisciplinary considerations. And what I want to say is you need to remember that the families, all those who live off this system, be them farmers or any other element along the value chain, service providers, private sector, or consumers, each and every one of these ones, 50% are male and 50% are female, and you all get the benefits or the issues out of it. We have to remember the aspect of decent work. We have to remember aspects, important aspects of food safety. and work environment safety, as well as the care that we put in maintaining sustainably the natural resources. So having said this, I wish you all today good deliberation. I will quickly give you an overview of this international conference, which is impressive. You have over than 215 abstracts, of which 20 are international. You have 9 themes of the conference. One is climate smart agriculture innovation, climate smart management of surface and groundwater, climate smart farming systems, modeling for climate change, food diversification for future food security, socioeconomic perspectives and policy innovation, and modified integrated pest and disease management for climate smart agriculture. You also have over 10 international experts that have joined you, but many also national experts from other universities. There will be 9 technical sessions and 1 main plenary running at the same time over the 2 days. So this is an extraordinary opportunity for knowledge exchange.
Policy level, at the governance level. What FAO is promoting basically to start with is how much water do we have? Standardized methodologies for assessing water, whether it's surface, ground, rainfall, and so on. So do your water counting, get the water counting right, both in terms of quantity and also in terms of quality, at the basin scale, but also at the provincial scale, at the canal level, and all the way down at the district level maybe. We also, in Pakistan, very little is known about how much water is actually consumed by the crops. Everybody keeps on saying that agriculture uses more than 90% of water. But over the last few decades, or maybe last 50 years, it's the same figure. We need to know exactly how much water is being used by agriculture, which our current assessments have, preliminary results of our current assessment have shown that agriculture uses about 85 or even less than 85% of total water. Also because the water demand and use by the industry and domestic sectors has increased a lot over time. We also need to look at the groundwater, and look at how feasible it is to use groundwater in different areas. We need to adapt 3R approach: retain, reuse, and recharge for groundwater. We also are supporting the development of and actually strengthening of early warning system for drought and for mostly for agriculture drought. We have supported the system of agriculture stress index installed in PMD, which is Pakistan Met Department, which actually uses GIS and remote sensing technology to and the vegetation index to warn, if you like, to give early warning to farmers on if there is a stress in terms of water availability for agriculture, and you can see that through the leaves, the color of the leaves, using the satellite imageries. What is also needed is having a data set.
Production by agriculture, biofuels. Biofuels have, let's say 10 years ago, they come up and they were seen as a green alternative for fossil fuels. But sometimes when we looked at it in detail, the energy yields to produce these crops are hardly more than the energy costs to produce them. Furthermore, there is the food and fuel dilemma. You can produce more for the same amount of food that you produce. One person can live 1 day, or you can produce 1 liter of bioethanol or biodiesel. But on the other side, there are also development opportunities. There are smallholders who can who grow biofuels who sell biofuels in growing schemes. At the same time, other people are warning for land grab, that big companies buy out smallholders and to have big biofuel plantations. As a last part, there is also the potential of the natural resource base. Is there enough land and water to also to think of producing biofuels? These are all considerations that you need to take in, that you need to think about when a country decides to go for biofuels. So now I showed a few things about how agriculture, water, and energy is linked. So what we are promoting over here is a nexus approach. Everything is interlinked. So we should look at all three factors and not at one alone. So what we need to do is balancing the different resources while maintaining the integrity of the ecosystems. Over here, the environment is not written explicitly over here, but of course it needs to be taken into consideration. So I'd like to say a few things on FAO's approach to the water, energy, and food nexus. First of all, we have to have a good look at the resource base. Which resources are available for food production and for energy production. Then we need to see the goals. The food, what do we need? Which food? How much food do we need to produce? How much water do we need to make available? And how much energy need to be produced? All to get there are around the drivers, and climate change is one of the main drivers over here, together with population growth. Everything on the bottom and on the top is interlinked. So what we need to do is look over here, managing the nexus, managing the linkages. So to do this, we promoted FAO stakeholder dialogue. We should not take one stand. We should not look only at the food, but we should also talk to. We should also listen to energy producers, and we should look at the environment. So we promote very much a stakeholder dialogue. To do the stakeholder dialogue, the first thing that we would need is building evidence, having data analysis and understanding the complexity of the nexus. Then develop scenarios. During the stakeholder analysis, stakeholder dialogue, we should talk to the people and discuss what do you want, what do you expect from in the future. How much water do you think you will need for which uses, and how much food do we need in the future? On the basis of this, we designed response options, and we should never forget the policies, the institutions, and the technologies across sectors and within sectors. We have developed a pragmatic approach. So first of all, you have the response options across the sectors. So you have to think very well on what are the allocation mechanisms, the trade-offs, and the synergies. Within the sectors, you have to look at the resources efficiencies. I said that beforehand. Everything, try to be as save as much water, food, and energy in all sectors. Reduction of waste of losses is very important. Just FAO estimates, for example, that there are about 30% of all food produced is being wasted or lost. So that's not that's a lot of water, that's a lot of land, and that's a lot of energy. Now two small examples. First, across the sectors of managing the nexus in the RLC basin, which is a very known example, and also within the sectors, how to modernize irrigation schemes. In the RLC basin, which you see over here, we have the water is being produced in the mountains, and that was used to produce crops, agriculture, cotton mainly, downstream. In the old age, during the Soviet Union, the energy needed in the uplands was being provided for by gas. That was natural gas that was being produced in the lower lying areas. And the upper countries, the countries upstream, they could use that at a reduced price. However, when the Soviet Union fell apart, this mechanism wasn't there anymore, and the downstream countries sold their gas at much higher prices outside of the region. What happened at that time was that the countries and in the uplands upstream, they needed to take care of their own energy. And what they did is they used they changed the dam regime. Rather than providing water now in summer when the water was needed for irrigation, they just kept the water and generated energy in the winter when energy was mostly needed. So what FAO did, together with partners, we established a stakeholder dialogue with people from all different sectors in all different countries, and put them around one table, discussing scenarios and see how you can come to some kind of an agreement in the RLC basin. The next example that I'm giving is the modernization of irrigation schemes. The irrigation schemes has been designed in the past, mainly in the 50s and the 60s, and they were being built to produce a lot of food, staple foods. But nowadays, the needs are changed. Nowadays, people do not. The more differentiation in foods, in crops are needed, and the schemes are not made for that. So what you need to do is support farmers' initiatives. Focus on service-oriented management. Make sure that the farmer can get the water when it needs it. When the farmer gets the water when it needs it.
हम बता सकें कि प्राइवेट सेक्टर जो है वो मुल्क के मफाद के लिए क्या कर रहा है. So basically I am a PhD and I am running a biotechnology lab, newly division, added in 4 brother groups, Pakistan. So my topic is plant biotechnology and private sector. So first of all, I will like to give you the overview regarding biotechnology. That biotechnology has been adopted overall in the world, almost 67 countries. So this data is from ISA 2017, that almost all the continent of the world are adopting biotechnology. So I have listed these 24 countries which have adopted GMO crops. This is the criteria based on minimum 50,000 hectares which are cultivating minimum 50,000 hectares of GMO crops, and not surprisingly USA is at number 1, which is cultivating 75 million hectares of the US land is under you can say GMO crop cultivation. Then there is Brazil, Argentina, Canada. So my overall purpose of showing you this slide was there is a misperception in Pakistan that GMO are not safe. So that's why I have added this data in the presentation, that I can show you that world is adopting biotechnology rapidly in order to cope up the, you can say, production as population is increasing. So world is adopting GMO technology for high productions. So these are the worldwide crops which are, you can say, cultivated. Major crops are soybean, cotton, maize, sugarcane, wheat, potato, tomato, tobacco, apple and alfalfa. And in minor crops, Argentina canola है, carnation है, chicory है, creeping bent grasses हैं, eggplant है, eucalyptus है, फ्लैक्स है, मेलन है, पपाया है और पिटोनिया है. सो बेसिकली ये सारा ये जो स्लाइडें मैंने आपको दिखाई हैं, इसका बेसिक मकसद यही है कि जो दुनिया है वो बड़ी तेज़ी से जो GMO टेक्नोलॉजी है उसको अडॉप्ट कर रही है, और वी शुड आल्सो. सो GMO थोड़ा सा मैं पाकिस्तान का भी स्टेटस देना चाहूँगा कि पब्लिक और प्राइवेट सेक्टर जो पब्लिक, स्पेशली जो पब्लिक सेक्टर हैं, इसमें निपजी है, कैम है, FC कॉलेज है और सोन यूनिवर्सिटी ऑफ नवाज शरीफ भी है जो कि दे हैव स्टार्टेड वर्क ऑन मेकिंग द ट्रांसजेनिक्स। लेकिन यह है कि प्राइवेट सेक्टर में अभी तक किसी ने ये इनिशिएटिव नहीं लिया था। तो अल्हम्दुलिल्लाह फोर ब्रदर ग्रुप इज़ द ओनली कंपनी विच हैव देयर ओन फुली डेवलप्ड जो इंटरनेशनल लेवल की अपनी एक लैब है जिसमें मोस्टली हम कॉटन, मेज़ और जो पोटैटो है उसके ऊपर काम कर रहे हैं। So our slogan is, as far as cotton biotechnology is concerned, we can probably say that cotton, Four Brothers Group, cotton is in safe hands. So I would like to show you our human resource. So there are two divisions. One is biotechnology lab, and then there is second, the plant breeding and genetics field department है. और in lab we are 13 people, including PhD and MPhil. और जो हमारा ब्रीडिंग डिपार्टमेंट है उसमें चौधरी हनीफ साहब और डॉक्टर ज़हूर साहब उसको लीड कर रहे हैं। और वी आर मोर देन 35 MPhil, डॉक्टर ज़हूर साहब भी PhD हैं और मोर देन 35 MPhil और MSc पर्सन जो है वो इन्वॉल्व हैं इस काम के साथ। तो दीज आर द सिलेक्शन पैरामीटर्स। हम लोग अपने चेयरमैन साहब का जो विजन है उसको लेके चल रहे हैं। ये दीज आर द सिलेक्शन पैरामीटर्स विच आर गिवन टू अस, दैट इन सिलेक्शन पैरामीटर्स को फॉलो करते हुए हमने अपना जो जेनेटिक्स का प्रोग्राम है और ब्रीडिंग का प्रोग्राम है उसको लेके चल रहे हैं। तो जितने भी बर्निंग इशू है, नंबर 1 में वायरस टॉलरेंट है, हीट टॉलरेंट है। एज फार एज कॉटन इज़ कंसर्न, वी आर टॉकिंग विद रिस्पेक्ट टू कॉटन, वायरस टॉलरेंट हो, हीट टॉलरेंट हो, जिस तरह क्लाइमेटिक स्मार्ट जो आज का टॉपिक भी है कि जो क्रॉप्स या जो आप कह सकते हैं फसलें हैं जो हीट टॉलरेंस को बर्दाश्त कर सकती हैं वही आगे प्रोडक्शन देंगी। तो दिस इज़ आवर मेन क्राइटेरिया, हीट टॉलरेंस है। और उसके बाद जो है वो दूसरा जो बहुत प्रेवलेंस अटैक जिसको हम बोलते हैं कि सकिंग टॉलरेंस है, जिसमें वाइट फ्लाई है, जेसेड है, एफर्ड है, इसको भी हमने अल्हम्दुलिल्लाह स्पेशली फोकस किया है। और उसके बाद सिर्फ बीटी को नहीं, स्ट्रॉन्ग बीटी को हमने फोकस किया है। और हर्बिसाइड है, GTG है, और इनडिटर्मिनेट नेचर फॉर हैंड पिकिंग और डिटर्मिनेट नेचर फॉर मशीनरी पिकिंग के लिए है। और जो फ्रूटिंग पैटर्न है उसके ऊपर स्पेशली हमने 4 फ्रूटिंग पैटर्न जो है कॉटन के हैं उसके ऊपर जो है वो हमने फोकस किया है कि कम्पैक्ट है, शॉर्ट है, लॉन्ग सिम्पोडियल है और शॉर्ट सिम्पोडियल फ्रूटिंग के ऊपर। और उसके अलावा जो 5 ग्राम का मिनिमम बॉल क्राइटेरिया है हमारा, गुड जिनिंग और टर्न परसेंटेज है, लॉन्ग स्टेबल लेंथ है, गुड माइक है।
Really, how likely are particular groups of farmers to take up these wonderful technologies which are now available? And what might be the policy levers, what might be the social and economic conditions and settings that make that more likely? So just to recap, climate smart agriculture, we can define it as an approach that helps to guide actions needed to transform and reorient agricultural systems. In the end, to support food security in a changing climate. Now, of the 3 objectives listed there, sustainably increasing our productivity and incomes, adapting and building resilience to climate change, those are the 2 that in Pakistan we are focused on, because as a country which is very up there as one of the most vulnerable to climate change, we aren't actually one of the countries that is the greatest contributor. So the 3rd objective, reducing or removing greenhouse gas emissions where possible, there has not been a lot of emphasis on that so far. So when I was thinking about what we would cover, I came up with a list of what might be the necessary conditions for uptaking CSA. First of all, the stability of the new climate conditions. We talked about how farmers become aware in a practical way that the climate is changing or it has changed. On the other hand, other stakeholders may not be aware that the climate has changed and action needs to be taken to change the production system. So when people accept that this is the new normal, then that is a great lever to uptaking the new techniques. We talked about how, for example, some crops just really do use less water, some can withstand more variation in water. Sugarcane is one of those crops. Next big one is land security, tenure and land management arrangements, a complex topic which I'll go into more in a minute. The capital cost of the equipment, the amount of labour required, the knowledge required whether there's a market for produce that's going to be encouraged under the new system, the cost of the inputs, are we actually going to have a bigger income or better outputs? How high maintenance is it? If we put in a new irrigation system and after 1 year it's all blocked up and not working, are we going to keep using it? And what kind of soil and water quality we've got to work with to begin with. If the soil is too degraded and the water is too saline, is it worth changing systems, or is it better to move on to different industries or different areas of land? And finally, I've got access to long and short-term weather, pest and disease information. And this access to information is a really big one, which my colleague Dr. Robina mentioned quite a lot earlier today. Okay. So just briefly about Sindh, as you know, it's the sister province to Punjab. It has a lot of similarities, it has some differences. Things have changed quite a lot in the last 70 years. Some things have changed slowly, some things have changed in quite a complex manner. Things don't stay the same. If we look at the censuses, including the agriculture census, if we look at the economic surveys, we'll see that there are patterns of change. Some of them are harder to explain than others. But essentially, if we just look at it from the framework of 4 kinds of capital that we might be looking at, human capital, financial capital, social capital and physical capital. Some of the issues which might affect the uptake of climate smart agriculture are literacy levels. Sindh does not have as good literacy as Punjab, I believe. In fact, in rural Sindh, literacy of women is only 21%. There's a very sharp rural-urban divide in Sindh. Karachi has a very different set of socio-economic indicators than the rest of Sindh, where agriculture dominates. Religious diversity, I believe, 95% of Pakistan practices Islam, 90% of the Hindus in Pakistan live in Sindh. And in some districts, it's quite a large percentage. So that affects people's dietary habits. There are social inequalities. And when we get back to the land ownership, farm size type, and tenancy system, that also becomes apparent. Growing population, decreasing acreages. This is very interesting. Back in 1959, when we look at farms of 100 acres or more, they constituted 54% of the agricultural land in Sindh and 8% of the owners. And then we fast forward to 2010 agricultural census. Although there are still 5,575 landlords, these people with 100 acres plus now only constitute 1% of owners. And the group that has become more dominant is the 25 to 100 acre group, which is 8% of owners and now 32% of land. And those with less than 5 acres, it's 17% of land. So these things, I think most people know that there is a complex land tenure system in Sindh, but it's not static. It has changed over time. The decreasing acreage doesn't have a good outcome for productivity, but it could have a good outcome for equality. But so far we haven't seen so much evidence of that. Just briefly, the other things on the list, the labour force participation pattern is important. Switch to cash crop focus. There are statistics on all of these, but I won't go into the quantitative side. The existence of livestock as an asset, lack of access to credit, lack of social protection.